The 2017 Jaguar XJ. This is the biggest sedan in the current Jaguar lineup. It was introduced to the market back in 2010, and yet it still looks fantastic in 2016. Welcome to this latest episode of Carbuzz Unboxing Reviews. I'm Jay, and before I get started, I want to thank Jaguar Sacramento, which is part of the Nilo company, for letting Carbuzz come on down and film this car for you today. So I want to give you some brief history of the Jaguar XJ nameplate because it goes back to 1968, and a long time ago it was both a sedan and a coupe, but most of us know it as a sedan. And the current XJ, it was first unveiled in 2009. Jay Leno was the person who officially presented it, and it went on sale in 2010. And although it featured then all new styling, its underpinnings were still based on the previous XJ model. But make no mistake, this current generation XJ is that big classic Jaguar sedan in every way. It's got standard rear-wheel drive. All-wheel drive is optional. That costs about an extra $3,500. But just look at it from the inside and you see all this wood, and the styling is no doubt influenced by the first generation XF, which was introduced a couple years before this XJ, but the XF has since been completely redesigned, and by my estimates, the XJ that you see here is the next Jaguar to receive a serious update. But like I said, this was last updated in 2016, and just look at the styling here. It's beautiful. This is a gorgeous, large flagship sedan. It competes with the likes of the BMW 7 Series and Mercedes-Benz S-Class. I'll get to more of the competitors and their pricing shortly as well. And this exterior, it's what they call Ammonite Gray. It's got these 19-inch turbo wheels. The wheels cost an extra $525. LED front and rear lights. And I know the rear styling, it's not for everybody, but I like it. The reason being is because, well, it looks good, and also the fact that Jaguar styling, they took a risk here, and its lead designer, Ian Callum, is all about risk-taking, and he is a true Jaguar design fanatic, but I just like the way that they made this design right here just very sleek, and compared to the previous BMW 7 Series and the S-Class, which were on sale at the time of this car's debut, this just looks stunningly gorgeous compared to them. And when I said it was updated in 2016, what did it receive? Well, there was a slight update to the front end. It received a larger grille and restyled air intakes in the front bumper. The headlights are now permanent LEDs, and they also feature that Jaguar J-Blade daytime running lights as well. But I still think the XJ is going to be completely redesigned in the next few years. Just go through the product lineup of Jaguar and you'll see the XJ, it's kind of overdue. But you should be excited anytime you see one of these XJs on the road because you just don't see all that many compared to the Mercedes-Benz S-Class. For an example, the S-Class outsells the XJ 6-1 in the US. And this engine, this is actually the standard engine in the US. It's a 3-liter supercharged V6, 340 horsepower, and 332 pound-feet of torque. This is the same supercharged V6 that you find in all other Jaguars, such as the XE, the XF, the F-Type, and even the F-Pace. It's a great engine, and it's supercharged, and I honestly don't know how much longer supercharged engines are going to be around because they're not very fuel efficient. In this case, this V6 is paired to a 6-speed automatic transmission with paddle shifters. And just look at this interior. It's beautiful. And I'll tell you one thing about British automakers, especially they take into this old school coach building feel, and just like Aston Martin, and you see it here. They call this interior Jet London Tan with a jet stitch, and I love all this real wood trim. You know, old Jaguar XJs, their door panel trim, the wood, it oftentimes just fell right out, but that's no longer the case. Believe it or not, Ford owned Jaguar for a time, and to Ford's credit, it invested a lot of money in Jaguar, and it improved its interior quality and overall build quality, but Ford sold Jaguar to an Indian automaker, Tata, and it's kind of a shame that Ford is still not the owner because it's not seeing all the benefits paying off. This is also equipped with a 20-speaker 825 Meridian audio system. It's just so... It's beautiful, and I just love the abundance of wood. As opposed to other automakers, especially in this class, they might have a lot of that brushed aluminum or just little more smaller bits of wood trim, but here it's just excessive. Ah, the rear seat. Of course, a lot of people like to be chauffeured around in these things, but actually you can also get the XJ in a longer wheelbase. And by doing so, it adds about 4.8 inches of interior space, or legroom specifically. But for the most part, I think this rear seat space, it's adequate for just about everybody else. The reason being that Jaguar added the extended wheelbase is specifically in China, where big luxury sedans are very popular for business people, and they like to be driven around, and they wanted the extra space. And I really like this dash. Yes, I know it looks a little old. Again, it goes back to 2010, but it's just aged really, really gracefully. And you can't say that about every car. It's a very simple dash. It's not at all complicated, and there's not an excessive amount of buttons, and I like that. But let's start up this engine here so that you can hear that. Okay, let's talk performance here. Now, you're going to go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.7 seconds. Top speed is electronically limited to 121 miles per hour. Now, like I said, if you wanted all-wheel drive, not a problem. Costs about an extra $3,500, but you can only get the all-wheel drive with the V6. Speaking of, what is the other engine option? Very simple. You have the 5-liter supercharged V8 in either 470 or 550 horsepower trims. Now, if you want the V8, you just have to know it's going to cost around $16,000 or $17,000 more. Yes, the performance is going to be better. The sound of it's going to be a lot better. It's a great Jaguar supercharged V8, but it also makes the car more thirsty and it adds weight. And speaking of fuel economy, what is it? 18 miles per gallon in the city, 27 on the highway, and a combined 21. Yes, that is with the V6. But again, this car weighs around 4,000 pounds. Now, what you're looking at here is Jaguar's new InControl Touch Pro touchscreen system, and it is an 8-inch unit that is worlds better than the system it replaces. It has a new quad-core processor and a 60-gigabyte hard drive. And the system, it essentially works like a smartphone, and you can rearrange the icons and swipe between configurable pages. And I also like the fact that the nav system, it has like that pinch-to-zoom ability. And overall inputs were really, really good. Again, this is the previous infotainment system in these Jaguars, including the top-of-the-line XJ. It was just pathetic for this class, and this new system could not have come soon enough. Jaguar and its sister company Land Rover is rolling it out across the entire lineup, so even the new entry-level Jaguar XE Sports sedan has it too. But I also like the fact that you have the option to put the map from that center console screen into the instrument display like you can in the new Audi A4 and the TTS, which I recently did reviews of as well. And kind of like the Waze app, if those of you who use it, the nav system will also learn your regular routes. So that's just a really nice little convenience there. Yeah, and there it is. In the previous Jaguars, they had the gear selector in the shape of like a J, obviously, for Jaguar, but they got rid of that in favor of this rotary dial there. And you see this across all Jaguars today, and I like it. It's kind of like Jaguar's own signature thing. Again, it replaces the J signature transmission, and I like it. It's a nice little touch. So how does this thing drive? Well, you have to remember one thing here. Compared to all the other big luxury sedans, the Germans especially, this is actually the lightest in its segment, but yet it still feels like a big car, and the reason is, it is. However, it is a nice responsive steering, and the V8 It's going to give you the better acceleration, but I kind of prefer the V6 just because it feels a little more nimble. Yes, Panoramic sunroof. I love these, and of course, you get this standard in the XJ. So let's talk safety. Again, just like just about every other car these days, this Jaguar XJ comes with a standard driver and passenger front and side airbags, side curtain airbags, active front head restraints, a tire pressure monitoring system, traction control, electronic stability control, and ABS brakes. Now the steering wheel here, it's wrapped in leather with wood trim. That actually costs an extra $500, but I would go for it because when I get to pricing, an extra $500 doesn't matter. Go for the better steering wheel. It gives it that classic sort of traditional coach building touch there. And the fact that you can control this much in the driver's gauge system, it's new for 2016, and it's a good thing Jaguar added it because it gives the XJ a bit more level of competitiveness. Again, it goes back to 2010, and the Mercedes-Benz S-Class has been redesigned, as well as the BMW 7 Series. I did an unboxing review of that car as well, and it is just full of technology. In fact, we also did an unboxing review of the Audi A8, another competitor to the XJ, and we were commenting that 2017 is its last model year. In 2018, an all-new A8 and S8 is going to be coming out, and it's just going to be full of all this high-tech gizmos, just like the Germans love to do, and it's just going to make this XJ look even more dated. At least from the inside, technology-wise. From the exterior, look, Jaguar just hit a home run, and I would really not like to see this exterior for the next generation changed all that much, which I doubt will happen because if you compare the first generation to Jaguar XF to the second generation XF, they almost look identical. So let's talk a little bit more about the competition. As I mentioned, you have the Audi A8, Mercedes-Benz S-Class, BMW 7 Series. I also want to add to the mix the Cadillac CT6. I did a review of that car as well, which I was very impressed with. Another entry to this class is the Genesis G90, and Genesis is actually the luxury brand, the newfound luxury brand actually, of Hyundai. And there's also the Maserati Quattroporte and the Lexus LS. This is nice. There are heated rear seats, and if you're willing to spend the extra money, although this particular Jaguar XJ does not have it, you can get quad zone climate control. And I also like the fact that you can control the rear sunroof from the rear seat. You can't do that in every car, so that's a nice little touch. And of course, with a big flagship sedan like this, you're going to get a massive size trunk, 15.2 cubic feet. Again, it's all about being able to fit lots of golf club bags in there. But back to the competition here. Well, as I mentioned, next to the Audi A8 and the S8, which is a little more powerful because it has a different engine, this Jaguar XJ is the oldest in the batch there. Even though it doesn't really look it from the outside, you can just tell by its features and kind of like even the way it drives. Yes, Jaguar has done a very nice job updating the suspension here, but those German automakers are making those bigger sedans even more sporty-like behind the wheel, and this is not especially sporty to drive. If you want a sporty Jaguar sedan, there's two others, the XE and the XF, the compact and midsize levels, which compete with the BMW 3 Series and 5 Series, respectively. So how much does this car cost? Well, the base price of a Jaguar XJ is a fairly reasonable $74,400, and this car, combined with the $995 destination fee and a few extra features, such as the illumination package, which is $1,700, you're looking at a grand total of $78,258. Now, let's compare that here. That is pretty well equipped. Again, it doesn't have the V8. You're going to have to spend about 16 or 17 grand more for that. But the Audi A8 begins at around $82,000, and Mercedes-Benz S-Class begins at about $97,000. BMW 7 Series also begins at around 83 grand. So compared to those three German brands here, this Jaguar XJ is a really good deal. Some other interesting facts about the XJ is that former British Prime Minister David Cameron, his official car was an XJ, but it had bomb-proof doors. And the overseas models, especially those in Europe, they also have a 3-liter V6 diesel engine option, as well as a new 2-liter turbocharged inline-4 gasoline engine, which I'm a little surprised about that Turbo 4. I mean, I don't see how it's going to be powerful enough to power a sedan this size. But just look at this thing. It's aged so well. Yes, the parts of the exterior design are not for everybody. I like how the C-pillars are blacked out there. It's sleek, it's different, and as I previously mentioned, there's not that many of these on the road. There's 6 times more Mercedes-Benz S-Classes out there. So when you see one of these, appreciate it. But I'm out of time for today, so everyone, thanks for watching. Any more questions for me, leave them in the comment section below. Be sure to subscribe to the CarBuzz Unboxing YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time on my next unboxing review.